nerds, what's up? We're on a new channel. Welcome, I'm Kassie from MissKlassieKassie originally, and now on this channel as Sassy Kassie. This is the first video I'm posting on this channel. I don't know what to do because it's like a new channel, but it's still the same type of content that I was making on my previous channel. For those of you who don't know and are just casually on this channel for the first time, I have been on the channel MissKlassieKassie for I think 6 years, and I made booktube videos. This year I decided to rebrand and do a bunch of arty stuff and also change my name because I got married at the beginning of May. I'm done with MissKlassieKassie and now I'm here. So welcome to this channel. Let's get into this video. I'm gonna be doing a wrap up. I also don't have an intro anymore. For those of you who are from my old channel and coming onto this one, I don't have that. So let's just get on into this. I'm jittery because I'm so nervous about this. Last month in October, I read 8 books, which totaled 3,765 pages. I read 2 physical books, 5 audiobooks, and 1 ebook, so I was a little bit closer to equal between audio and some sort of physical type reading. I read 2 fantasies, 1 sci-fi, 3 contemporaries, 1 paranormal, and 1 nonfiction. So everywhere on that, always a fan. I love being diverse in my genres. And then I read 6 young adults, 2 new adults, and 1 adult, which is the nonfiction. I rated my books 1 3-star, 2 4 stars, 4 5 stars, and then the nonfiction I did not rate. Those are my statistics. Let's get into the books. My 3-star book was, unfortunately, The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This book is a dystopian paranormal fantasy ? Definitely dystopian though, and it takes place in the UK, and there are people with different superpowers, and the people with superpowers are considered second-class citizens. Think The Darkest Minds, except this is much more gang and political related. It's set in 2059, and Paige is working in the criminal underworld of London, and she scouts for information by breaking into people's minds. She's a dream walker, a rare kind of clairvoyant, and under Scion law, she commits treason simply by breathing. But elsewhere there is a seat of power even greater than Scion, and they have a different design for Paige and her uncommon abilities. Basically, she gets stolen by this other political power and is being used for that, and there's a lot of trust and mistrust, of course, in that scenario. I listened to this on audiobook, and I think that might have been why I didn't like it as much, unfortunately, because the story is so complicated that I found myself, if I even drifted away from listening for half a second, I was lost. So that definitely was not the best thing to do for me. I want to read the next book because they set everything up in this book, and I'm interested to see where we go from there. I felt like this one was definitely a setup book. Obviously things happen, but it was a lot of information being passed to me, which was good, but also confusing, and I want to see how, now that we have this information, what's gonna happen next. So 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but I am intrigued for reading the sequel. Some 4-star reads. I finally read Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare, which is the 3rd book in the Dark Artifices series. So I can't really talk about much what this book is, but it's a Cassie Clare novel. It follows the Shadowhunter world. This book takes place 5 years after the big war happens at the end of the story that follows Clary and Jace. Can't remember what the series is called, but that's the series. And it basically follows the LA Institute and the characters who are there. They're a little bit younger than Clary and Jace, but then they get aged up as the time passes. It's interesting. This series is good. I like all of the secondary characters in this series way more than I like our main characters, Julian and Emma. I think Julian and Emma are really annoying, and I'm really freaking tired of them, honestly. But as the series goes on, you get more and more of the other perspectives, and you get to know them better, and then they become really important, and I really love them. I don't know. Cassie Clare, for me, I read them late, and I did really enjoy them when I read them, but then the more that these books come out, the more I'm I could pass on these, but at the same time I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars because it is really emotional. Kassie Clare really knows how to get you hooked into the feelings that all of these characters are feeling, and this series deals a lot, especially this book deals a lot with grief because of a character death that happens, and that is really what made this book a 4-star for me. The next book that I read was also 4 stars, and it was Burned by Ellen Hopkins. This is a book about a girl raised in a religious abusive family, and her name is Patton, and she starts asking questions about God, a woman's role, sex, love. She experiences the first stirrings of passion, but when her father catches her in a compromising position, events spiral out of control. She is sent to live with an aunt in the wilds of Nevada to find salvation and redemption, but what she finds instead is love and acceptance, until she realizes that her old demons will not let her go. This book is hard because we get this character who is in this abusive family, and she gets to escape it with permission from her abusive dad. So then everything kind of feels great for a lot of this book. She's like dealing with her trauma. In healing, she's also finding some really good things. Oh, I didn't like the ending, but I don't know. This book is hard because I don't want to spoil it either. It's a 4 out of 5 stars because it was really good, but it also felt a little bit easy in the middle. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this one. Ellen Hopkins writes in verse, and I did really enjoy listening to the audiobook of this, but it wasn't perfect. I read so many 5-star books this month. I don't even know, they're not in a particular order. We're just gonna have to go for it. The next book that I read was Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman, and this is the sequel to Scythe. And then the third one, The Toll, just came out, and this is a dystopian futuristic world as well. This world takes place in our world, but science has given us the availability to eradicate death, so people don't die from anything, from old age, they don't die from sickness, and even if they attempted suicide or something like that, they still would not die. They could survive. The only way that the population is controlled is through the Scythedom, which basically is its own entity, and they train scythes to kill. You have to only kill a certain amount, and you can't kill more than that, but you can't kill less than that, and all this stuff. The whole story is basically about the Scythedom having 2 sects within it. One that is more moral and more about the history of the Scythedom and where it comes from, and the other side trying to become more like murderers. Ooh, it was so good. There's just so much like political intrigue and just like how do you go about making change without stuff, and the ending was so good, and I can't really talk about it because it's a sequel. So many things happen in this novel, and I highly recommend this series. I know it's super hyped on BookTube anyway, but really is worth it if you like the content. It's interesting. It's so fascinating to me. Such an interesting concept. Next, I want to talk about The Last True Poets of the Sea. This book I was approved for by NetGalley, and so I got an e-copy of it, and then I ended up waiting and getting it on Hoopla because the NetGalley ARC had like some weird formatting that I didn't like, so I waited, and then now I've read it, and holy shit, this book is so good. This book is about a girl whose brother has attempted suicide, and he is now in a mental health facility, and she was also struggling with drugs and promiscuity and just really like not keeping herself safe. Most importantly, like not responding to the situations going on in her life in an appropriate manner. So her parents send her to her uncle's house in their like town that they've always visited because her mom is from there and her uncle still lives there, and so she goes to this small town for the summer, and it's about her meeting a group of friends who actually care. They're not just like hanging out to do drugs and get shit-faced. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It is so it's so hard because you have her feeling guilt about what's happened with her brother, and you have her also dealing with her own trauma, and there's just so much trauma. So there were times where I did have to like put the book down, take a break, come back to it, because it really was a hard read, but wow, was it amazing. And there's like just a little hint of magic in there. Like at the very end there's just this one thing that's kind of like whimsical, so I really liked that. My one thing that I really debated on, is this worth a 5-star read because of this, but it really is, even though I had this one issue with it, and it's that the brother is in a mental health facility and we don't see any of that, which is fine because it's from the sister's perspective. Thing happens in regards to this mental health facility and something that I don't want to give away, and I feel like it was never really dealt with. Why didn't we talk about this? Why wasn't that discussed at all? Why didn't we bring this up again? Like, it just went away and everything was fine, and that was kind of weird. So I don't know how to talk about that without spoiling it, and so if you've read the book, I'd love to talk to you about it, but if not, then read it. It was so good. Lastly, I read Bad Romance. This book is phenomenal. I like don't even know how to describe. It's so good. This book follows a girl in high school who falls in love with a boy in high school. He ends up being emotionally abusive, and there is like escalation within that, and it is all about her going from not realizing what's going on and that it's abusive and everything, to the end of the relationship when she's trying to get out of it. It is the hardest and what I perceive as very honest portrayal of what an abusive relationship looks like, and how abuse doesn't always mean physically getting bruised. It's still abuse. It is so well done. I don't even know how to put it into words how good it is. It's hard, obviously, to read with the content, and of course, if that's a triggering content for you, then like stay the heck away from this book, because that's all this book is. It's so good, and in my opinion, really well done, and I highly recommend, if you can handle the content, to read it. I think this book also could help a lot of people who are friends of people who are in abusive relationships or who have been in abusive relationships, because I think this book really shows how hard it is when you're in it to know how to fix it, or to realize that you can get out, or to realize that it's worth getting out. And I think a lot of times friends of people who are in abusive relationship, friends who knows that that's what's going on, it's really hard for them to understand why someone would stay or how someone could stay. And then on the other flip side of that, being the friend of someone who's in an abusive relationship but not noticing because it's well hidden by them for outsiders, and so just thinking that this relationship is so cute or perfect or whatever, and not knowing what's going on inside of it. All of that is really just put into perspective in this book. Wow. I went into this book not knowing that, I didn't have that high of expectation for it. I went in thinking, oh, this is gonna be, it's a book about abuse, like I knew that, and it's gonna be hard, but it's gonna be a typical YA novel. But no. It is so fucking good. Like, wow. 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely one of my tops of the year. It's so fantastic. So I highly recommend that one as well. Those are all of the books that I read this month. I really wanted to get to A Cathedral of Myth and Bone by Kat Howard, but I didn't make it, so it's on my TBR for next month, a little sneaky peeky. I also really wanted to get to Fireborn this month because I got an arc of it and it came out last month, but I didn't. So here's another sneaky peeky. I'm currently reading it. I'm only like 20 exactly 20 pages in, so there's another sneak peek for my TBR, which will be my next video. That's everything. Welcome to my new channel, Sassy Kassie. Let me know in the comments down below what kind of videos you want to see from me. Of course, I will be doing the standard hauls, TBRs, wrap-ups, things like that, but is there anything that you really want to see me do? Is there anything that, especially if you're coming from my old channel, is there anything that like I was doing on my channel that you recommend I like don't do, that you thought was boring, or that I should change, or anything like that? I also did tell everyone on my goodbye video for MissKlassieKassie that I do kind of want to take like once a month maybe, take a video from MissKlassieKassie that I really love and re-upload it onto this channel. So if you have any videos from there that you really love and you really want me to repost here, recommend them down below. Also, make sure to subscribe to my other channel, More Sassy Kassie, if you're interested in the content of like my hair stuff, or talking about birth control, talking about healthy lifestyle bullshit, or anything that's not book related. That is where I will be doing any of that content. I don't know how often I'll be posting on there or anything like that, but I do want to try to utilize that space. Lastly, I make videos every Thursday and Saturday, so I will see you guys very soon with a new video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and click like if you enjoyed it. Make sure to follow me on all my different social medias, which will all be listed down below. It's all Sassy with 2 Y's _ Kassie, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Holy shit. Okay.